I started going to Sundance about 4 years ago. I started meeting some people in Sundance, and I met all these like amazing, talented filmmakers, and they got their films in Sundance, and they got their films in Cannes and Tribeca and SWSX, and I'm like, fuck, like this is what I want to do. White Boy blew up, and like none of these dudes have like a top 10 film on Netflix, and they're like calling me, they're asking me like what's the secret? How did I do it? I had the goal to make film. Right when I got out, I made this little, this short series. It's called Easter Bunny Assassin. But I made that it's like a little fictional thing. I had like this little character called the Easter Bunny Assassin, you know, like a dude in a James Bond outfit with a bunny head. And he was going around like whacking people. Like other holiday crime figures, you know, like he whacked, Santa Claus crack dealer. There was Jesus Christ junkie, you know, and Tooth Fairy Mafia Don. And so this was like a little kind of thing that I envisioned in prison. You know, I convinced some local college students that were, you know, in film school. I'm like, hey, let's go shoot this. You know, and I bought some cameras and bought some equipment, and they were like, fuck it, let's do it.
Tonight, high hopes for a release from prison for a former teenage drug dealer known throughout Detroit as White Boy Rick. He's been locked up for almost 30 years on a nonviolent crime.
When I got involved with White Boy, you know, the documentary is on Netflix now that I wrote and produced. I interviewed this director, Sean Reck. He did this film called Murder in the Park that was on Showtime. You know, it was about a wrongful conviction. And Sean Reck had actually cut his teeth. He did like 200 Crime Stopper shows for all the networks. So I interviewed him for Vice. And actually, for whatever reason, Vice ended up killing the piece, so the piece never ran. But I struck up a relationship with him, and he had just finished that film, and he was actually looking, you know, for his second film. So we started talking, and he found out about my background. And, you know, he was a true crime dude. So, you know, because I told him, you know, I wasn't shy. I told him I wanted to make film. You know, and then I just casually mentioned, you know, that I wrote all these articles on the guy White Boy Rick for Vice, you know, for trying to get him out, saying that he should be out. And that struck his interest because he knew that they had this Hollywood movie with Matthew McConaughey that it was just going into production called White Boy Rick, you know, about the same story. So he found out I knew White Boy. You know, he found out, you know, I had the foundations of the story from these articles, you know, I'd written for like The Fix and Vice News. So he was basically like, you know, let's do this. And really, you know, he taught me, you know, how to make a film, you know, a documentary film. And this dude is a really good filmmaker. So we made White Boy, you know, I wrote and produced that, and I learned from him. I appear in that too, you know, as a talking head. And that was like kind of my initial foray into film, and it went on Netflix in April, and it was a brand new movie, dude. It blew up. It was like the first 2 weeks it was on, it was like top 10.